time to game, friends. Hello, hello, hello. What is going on? I am coming live to you from beautiful Cologne, Germany. Pride month is almost over. Happy Pride. Happy Pride, y'all. Shout out to Pride. Lucario, I see you in chat. What's up? To be honest, is sort of better. I still would classify it as solar. Solar coded. Oscar, what's up? Yeah, it's definitely not as bad as before. I mean, I don't even know how visible the sweat was last time. I'm not gonna lie, my skin's been looking really good lately. The skincare's been working. Oh shit! Okay, y'all. Okay, so you see our friend Kudo7821. I can now stop dead naming him. Jean-Luc, what's up? Shout out to Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc is probably how I should say it. Dude, I need to French max harder. Dragon, hello. Nate Hade, what's up? Tibis, what's going on? Guys, I've decided starting tomorrow, I'll wake up at 7 a.m. and go for a bike ride around the block. I'm done fucking around. I'm gonna get my life in order. I'm still unemployed, by the way. I think I mentioned that that I sort of have a thing lined up, kind of, maybe, possibly. It's like a little up in there. I just need some structure in my day, just very generally, you know. And I just noticed because I'm not biking to work, I'm really missing something in my life. So just starting my day with some structure, biking, working on videos, you know, making food for my girlfriend. I feel like those are a couple big points I could just hit, you know, regularly. Ella, did you? Oh well. This is time zone shenanigans. It's already 10 p.m. here, so what I mean is next morning, right? Yeah. The thing is, I don't know. I think my brand of ADHD is very hard for me to like be restless, kind of. Like that's the type of ADHD I have. Like I always got a little project kind of going on, but it's very rarely shit that's actually like bringing me forward in life. Hello. Yeah, man. I slowed down a little bit. See, I've been doing the iShow speed hack of like doing pull-ups. I have a pull-up bar permanently installed. And I do a couple every time I like walk through the door. Oops, sorry about that. I slow down on that because of the weather. Sasha, what's up? Am I reviewing the arcade stick that you see over there? No. This arcade stick is a known quantity. This is one I've had for a while. This is the Mayflash F700. I mean, I recently got the... Wait, I can show y'all. I recently got the Varmio Kasai arcade stick. It's an absolute beauty, an absolute unit. It's got this cool little handle. And I specifically got it. I mean, number one, I love the button layout. With the extra buttons here. I love the retractable cable. And the main reason I got it is this door in the back that lets me access the internals. And specifically, I can swap out the gate very easily. So for some games, I just prefer different types of gates. Specifically for Tetris, I like a diamond shape. And I hated the idea. Bro, I'm at home, okay? Leave me alone. See, I love this stick. This is my custom May Flash stick. The problem is if you want to do anything on this one, you gotta unscrew it. And it's just way too inconvenient. So this one is just permanently an octogate, which is my preference for most games. And this is what we're playing Punisher with today because it's wireless. Which is much more convenient, obviously. But this right now, this is my stick of choice for Tetris. And I'll also be using it for Tokon when that comes out. So yeah. Bro, the problem is I have no idea what any of those words mean. I'm not gonna lie with you. See, once I have money again, I'll up the fit game. I'll start cooking. For real. Yeah, those Mayflash sticks are just really good in general, and they're very easy to mod. Let me update the shareholder numbers. So, we got 27 subs on Twitch. We got 7 members on Ko-fi, that's 34. And, oh my god, we got 5 members on YouTube members. So we're at 39 total. We lost a bunch of shareholders. I'm updating the number. Guys, by becoming a shareholder is the best way to support me. You can be a YouTube member, you can be a Twitch subscriber. It's just the length of the shorts. Okay, gotcha. Or you can get a monthly subscription on Ko-fi. I'm recording the next Backlog Battle series of reviews tomorrow, and I will be reviewing Pragmata, A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time. I think that's it. I also played Mixtape last month, but does anybody want to see that? I don't know. I already talked about that, so. Let me see. Any other games that I played, potentially, in May. The month of May. Nope, that's it. Okay. Beatrice Maker, what's up? I love the Bioshock of it. See, yeah, if that happens to you, just get another one on Amazon and put the old one back in. Fire. I mean, I wanted to get, like, into this little habit of, like, see, I got this, like, modded iPod recently. And, I wanted to build, like, a little habit of, okay, I'm gonna buy a CD, like, maybe once a month. Or once a week, I don't know. And then I'm gonna dump this CD onto the iPod. And then, I'm gonna listen to it on the iPod, you know? I feel like that'd be a nice habit to build. But, one thing at a time. Because I feel like I feel like maybe I'll have a better relationship with, like, music if I get really intentional about it. Like, okay, I'm gonna pick a CD from the store. I'm gonna physically go there. Yeah. Ugh. Okay, I'm already sweating, so this is definitely still very much hot. America, what's up? Will it alter my brain chemistry like the context sensitivity one? Well, we'll talk about that. It has divided the tribes more than ever before. That's exactly right. 6-inch forehead, shut the fuck up. Damn, that's crazy. I just got owned. Destiny Spider, what's up? Let's be fucking real. I'm an attractive guy. Nobody... Okay, man. Nobody can own me on those grounds. Nate Hate, what's up? I do need to shave. This shit is like diabolical. GTA Berlin. I'd be a fan of that. By this time next year, I will have AC. Come what may. I don't know how. I don't know exactly in what capacity, but it will. I will do it. I will pull it off. Thank you, Ozzy. I just got out of the shower earlier. That's why I'm wearing this little hair fucking thing. I thought that would be a look, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wii version of Xenoblade Chronicles. Ooh, that's kind of I respect it. I respect it. Okay, y'all. I don't know if I have many like updates. Work on videos and shit has been a little slow. Like I mentioned the other day, but like I went on a 7-hour odyssey to get my freaking antidepressants refilled. Which is I'm not diagnosed with depression. It's just that I'm using it as an off-brand sort of medication for ADHD. Zandara, what's up? We'll give a solid 6 out of 10. What the hell? You're only jealous of my hairline. So my hairline is my only good quality. Anyway, that kind of derailed my whole day because I was like, I felt sick the whole day after. Like, I think for 2 days after it. Because of like heat exhaustion and shit. It was wild. Yeah, no, I'll get some structure back into my days. And then we'll work on videos, and then hopefully I'll stop being unemployed. I will say, I don't know how relevant this is for my international audience, but I officially have press access for Gamescom. I will be attending Gamescom as a member of the press. Some of you may know I run a German podcast, and it's been going pretty well, and that's how I did it. I showed them my podcast, and they liked it. So I'll try to get some press. FF10. What the hell? That's so random. I'll try to make some like appointments with developers and all that shit. Like try to be early. It'll be very, very cool. I don't know exactly how I'll cover it in this sort of channel's capacity, but we'll see. Let me refill my water. Oh, we be collabing. I've been getting some collabs going actually. I'll be on a very well-known podcast like very soon, actually. I'm not gonna spoil it yet, but I gotta hook up. Ugh. Do we think so? Okay, guys, we've determined that Capcom, they like their too early, like first quarter spring slots, right? It's not Ingram Radio, no. It's the podcast is slightly more famous. Yeah. No offense to the Ingram boys, but anyway, we know Capcom, they like their 2 spring slots, right? So this year was Pragmata and Requiem. 2019 it was DMC 5 and RE2, for example. Obviously, next year they're doing Code Veronica. Do we think that the DMC remake is next year? That's what I'm wondering. Do we think the DMC remake is next year? Because there was a rumor saying it's very far along and it will be announced soon. I think it's real. I think it's real. I'm pretty convinced at this point it's real. Yeah. Because, like, especially the fact that Itsuno is not there. And, I feel like they just need something to get them off the ground, kind of, you know? I feel like they don't have quite the confidence for DMC6 yet. Pixel Saber, what's up? Yeah, there's been substantial rumors for a DMC remake. DMC1. I mean, here's the thing, right? A DMC1 remake, it is effectively like the next big DMC, you know? Because it would just be a different game. Entirely. I mean, I don't really... The thing about a remake is, like, basically, okay, you're making a new game, but you get free R&D, you get free marketing, but you also have some constraints, right? You also have to deal with, like, the expectations of, like, ooh, what the fuck do people want from this game? So on that ground, I'm not a fan of the current remake sort of, trajectory. However, I have just accepted, well, they are new games, right? And, I'm interested in what Capcom do. Unfortunately, I'm a Capcom hostage. V, what's up? I'm a Capcom hostage, so I'm gonna reluctantly just check out all their output, right? I'm really curious about Code Veronica. I'm probably gonna play Code Veronica on the stream, like, because I never finished the original. Yeah, Lucario. That's the thing that's so interesting, because, like, with Star Fox, it is a straight remake, you know, and even then, it is very different. Like, the thing is with Star Fox, I'm like, okay, if you play this remake and you never played the original, I'm still kind of mad, but I'm not that mad, you know, because, like, they're similar enough. But even then, games are just such a weird medium, you know? They could potentially ask Kamiya for advice or even give him more influential roles for the DMC1 remake. I don't think they really involved Shinji Mikami in the RE4 remake. That's sort of my impression. Exactly, Lucario. Oh yeah. Wilds was so fucking bad, dude. Dude, Monster Hunter Wilds is just legitimately a horrible game. I'm ready to say it. Fuck it. Kayla, what's up, man? Gave Ziggy, what's up? Gave -1 for SF26 for a worst Gorgon fight, but +1 because I thought the tunnel run at the end was kind of sick. I think my final score for... I'm gonna leak it. My final score for Star Fox is a 4 out of 5. The original for me, obviously, is a 5 out of 5. But... it's weird. I think my main thing... Yeah, my main thing with the new one... The fact that they didn't do online leaderboards, right? The fact that they didn't do proper button remapping. The fact that they didn't do... a proper like score attack mode like on the 3DS. The fact that they generally just de-emphasized score recording, right? The way scores are recorded is very de-emphasized in a weird way. I'm not a fan of the graphics. I feel like it's a mixed bag of stuff and also a lot of missed opportunities. But then the challenge mode is legitimately kind of sick, and they didn't fuck it up that much. And the multiplayer is legitimately kind of sick. So, and like it's so close to the original game anyway that I don't know. I feel like I have to kind of give it a close enough score. Fire. Okay, let's so fire. Okay, guys, wait. Let me just tell you one thing, right? About RE5. No, wait. See, guys, this is the control scheme that you want, type A. Or type, I mean, see if you want to be really sweaty. Wait, God, I'm stupid. If you want to be really sweaty about it, you can like also do type B. You want to play this with RE4 controls so that you can do the snap turning. It's way better than the strafing. I'm telling y'all, that is the fucking real sauce. That is the real sauce. I agree, Lucario. I agree. Star Fox VR chat. See, the thing is, the one webcam that I own is the one that I'm looking into right now, which I mean, I could plug this into the Switch. It would work. It is insane. It's just so funny because, I mean, you look at the quality, right? Like, it looks like an actual camera, right? Obviously, I find that so funny. Because it would be way overkill. But yeah, no, I was too lazy to like, really plug it in, so I don't really care about that sort of shit. It is funny. There was one really funny video that I stumbled across. I'm gonna show y'all. Let me. See, that could be the case. That seems right. It is so unbelievably racist. It's crazy. Luke, what's up, man? Okay. This video, wait.
Philip, you want to play Star Fox together?
I was born ready.
Wait.
Philip, you want to play Star Fox together?
I was born ready.
Wait, I probably should not. Hang on, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Ugh.
Yeah.
Philip, you want to play Star Fox together?
I was born ready. Aaliyah! On your 6, we got enemy fighters! Boy, if you don't do a barrel roll right now, we're gonna have a problem. You understand me? I'm taking heavy enemy fire from all sides! I need reinforcements now! I need you to lock in! I'm gonna tell you, Fox, if I don't make it out of this one, at least I'm taking Pigma with me! I'm gonna pay you back for Venom, boy! Peppy thinks this is a game. Well, somebody tell him it's not a game! We are here to get the most points, Peppy, so pull yourself together, old man, and get serious! Back me up, I got 2 enemies on my 6! I've got wing damage! Alright, boys, let me do it. What is an unk? Tell General Pepper if he doesn't send reinforcements in about 5 minutes, he won't have a fleet to protect!
I'm sweating.
That was so good. Oh my god, that's so good. Y'all. Replace the webcam with Falco. Honestly, fire. Dennis, what's up? I definitely want to get... Dude, honestly, I love that the multiplayer has no progression. It's so fire. Fucking finally, dude. Oh, by the way, this is Germany versus Paraguay right now. Thank God I don't give a fuck. So we're filtering out the true Zed fans. If you're a true Zed fan, you're here. You know, you're not being German. Okay, y'all. Falco needs to sound more Italian. That's true. That's true. Oh, there's the banners, but you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean. I feel like it's not. Some of my chat is weird. Dude, I'm shocked that Lucario. I'm shocked how quick you did the challenges. That shit seems like pure evil. Okay, y'all. So the plan for today is we will react to this Matthematosis video that you just saw. I don't know if I have any other updates beyond that. And then we'll play a little bit of Punisher Arcade. If you don't know the Punisher Arcade game, there's obviously... Oh, why is my freaking... Hang the frick on, man. So, it's a cool game. I've fucked around with it in the past. There's a big Electric Underground video about this game. I'm always told it is a really good sort of beginner shmup. Beginner beat 'em up. So we'll dig into that a little. It's a nice, easy, comfy time, you know, nice, easy, comfy game to dig into. Why choose that? Just because I don't want to think too hard, you know? I don't want to think too hard. Professionals. What does that mean, Luke? I didn't want to think too hard. Like, there's a bunch of games, that I put, like, sort of on my backlog for this year. I think one of them was Final Fight, but I just don't want... With Final Fight, I'm also noticing, like, I have to actually use my brain, right? With Spike Out, obviously, I really struggled the other day. And there's, like, a bunch of other games I really want to play, like, soon, like StarCraft, for example. Let me actually... So, I mean, if you don't know, Potential Man Monday is the segment where I evaluate the potential. Oh, Luke, I get it. See, Luke, there's a vacuum for MGS3 guys. You can be the MGS3 guy of the server, for sure. Honestly, I should do Sega Rally. So, if you don't know, every Monday, I take a random game and I evaluate the game's potential based on, like, a single PlayStation. And we've already done a bunch. We have not done StarCraft 2. We've done these over here. We have done Spike Out as well. Yeah. But then, like, a lot of the other shit that I'm seeing here, like... I mean, Monkey Ball I could do. Monkey Ball got some gas. Pete's Tower. I feel like Pete's Tower is not that exciting because I've already played it. I played through it and I was like, yeah, that's cool. So if there's a game that you want me to evaluate for Potential Man Monday, just go get into the server. It's discord.ziabro.com. You can simply type Discord like this, and then bam, you go. And then once you're in the server, you can, like, type in, I don't know, Nekopara Hentai Adventures, right? and then you make a post, and I'll consider playing it. Okay. That's what we do. That's Potential Man Monday. Yeah. Yeah, but before we do that, we'll react to the Matthematosis video. I will get into it. Someone took down my request. What? Which one? Danny guy, what's up? I mean, I would only play it for a couple hours, but I suppose. I didn't see that. That was a thing? Was that real? Are you trolling me? Anyway, Deco Power Hentai. Okay. Guys, let's get right into it. Into this Matthematosis thing. I'm gonna do a little intro for YouTube. I'm gonna record this. It's gonna be on the channel later. Okay. Hello, YouTube. Say hello, YouTube, in the chat if you want to be in the video. So, the GOAT question mark has dropped. It's been 10,000 years. Yes, there has been a new Matthematosis video. A new Matthematosis video was deployed onto the timeline. It's been a little over a week at this point. I didn't get to react to it the second it came out. But it caused a lot of discourse. It caused a bit of a stir. It caused a bit of a rift. I want to say, obviously, if you don't know, Matthematosis is probably the most well-respected game critic sort of in the enthusiast sphere. In the, like... If we're thinking, like, just guys who tweet about video games... if we're thinking that category of person, Matthematosis is him. He is the guy, right? He is, like... He is the one that everybody in my bubble watches and, like, really respects and, like, really puts on a pedestal. And he's been doing work for years, right? Now, toward the quote-unquote, you know, tail end, maybe is the best way to put it, of his YouTube career, he actually slowly transitioned, and then that transition got faster and faster over time, into more theory-focused videos. And just in general, his perspective on games got much more theoretical, much more dialectical, right? He was really interested in just driving the conversation forward and like really extracting interesting ideas from like every game he covers. I want to say, the DMC commentary is like where sort of the golden era of Matthematosis starts. I think everything before that is like kind of classic YouTube stuff, you know, not really that worth writing home about. But past this point, he only got better and better. And he really cemented his legacy with a duology of videos. The first being, I mean, personally, I fucking love the Meta Micro Videos video as well. Like, that shit is brilliant. But then what really made a super huge splash is the context sensitivity video, and then followed up with the extrinsic motivation video, where he explores these sort of well-trodden concepts in a, like, really pedantic way, right? He really interrogates them in a super, super pedantic way, and, like, I think something like extrinsic motivation, is something we've taken so for granted, right? And, I recently had a conversation with a friend where I was saying this example where, like, okay, if I want to be the best guy in a tournament, right? If I'm playing a game to, like, compete in a tournament, that's extrinsic motivation, right? Because it exists. There is an external thing that's motivating me, right? The motivation is not coming from within me. And I feel like with the way we think about games especially, we often think about it in this very simplistic binary way where, oh, if it's good, it's extrinsic, if it's bad, it's intrinsic. Sorry, other way around. If it's good, it's intrinsic, if it's bad, it's extrinsic. Where we almost like very automatically file certain types of motivators in either of those categories when that's really not the best way to go about it. So to have someone like really, like I said, interrogate that, is very valuable. Wolfsden, what's up? Yeah, Luke, I think that is a great point, right? So I said, okay, this is the duology that really cemented his legacy, cemented him as like the S tier fucking YouTuber. And then he followed up on it. You know, now it's a trilogy. There's Aesthetic Deception. That's the latest one. That's the latest in the series of theory videos. And I couldn't help but discover that the reception was much more polarized. Yeah. A lot of people having pretty harsh words for this video. Josh, what's up? Sort of three. Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's exactly it. I was like, there's sort of three major points that I kind of took notice of in the discourse. Number one, it's too exploratory and wishy-washy and confused. And therefore saying nothing. Did I say three? Fuck. I said three items, I meant two. Sorry. Okay. There's sort of two big points in the discourse that I took notice of that people sort of use as criticisms against this video. Number one is too exploratory, too wishy-washy, and too almost like fence-sitting and not really saying anything for that reason. That was one big take that I saw a lot of people deploy. It's that the idea itself is not thoroughly enough explored, or rather that there's sort of an underlying reality to this aesthetic deception idea that is only very briefly touched on, or where only the surface is kind of scratched. And this is really hard to explain without getting into the topic of the video itself, but we'll do that in a second. Now, I will say I've intentionally only watched it once. I wanted to save my second watch for this stream. And on my first watch, I was kind of hit with the thought that, okay, this is like not the most profound thing, actually. Like, I didn't get the sense like, oh my god, it's like altering my brain chemistry. You know, it's changing, it's rocking my world. You rock my world, you know you did. And everything I own I give. The rarest love, who think I'd find someone like you to call mine. You rock my world, you know you did. Sorry. See, Alodici does so funny. I will say I see the I hinted at it a little bit. He is very dialectical, right? He will always present the argument and then instantly present the counter argument, right? That is the Matthematosis method, right? I feel like the fact that he does it here doesn't, and I agree with you, like the fact that he does that doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't take a stance. And I think his stance is actually, I mean, the fact he's titling it aesthetic deception, that's like inherently judgmental, yeah. That's an inherently judgmental word. So I think his stance is clear from the title alone, right? Rene, what's up, man? Okay, y'all. I'm gonna refill my water and then we'll dig in. We're not talking about the Fantano stuff. Oh my god. Words, I see what you mean, yeah, for sure. I do think, I mean, it is kind of academic, right? You kind of, in academic circles, you have to be very specific. So I actually don't begrudge that. However, I feel like maybe that's my biggest criticism with Matthew in general. I feel like he just doesn't interact enough with the rest of the discourse. And, like, the fact that he's coming to these conclusions mostly organically, it seems, right? I feel like my impression of him is he's someone who takes way too much pride in that, yeah? Like, why are the ideas better when they're his ideas, like, exclusively? I feel like your ideas actually would be stronger if you were okay with like citing other people, you know? Like if you're gonna be academic in this way and this like super pedantic, okay, I'm gonna really spoil this out and be really exact with my language. Then why aren't you also like looking at, okay, did somebody else already come up with this? Yeah. That seems very silly to me. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, okay, this is sort of an aside, right? But I watched his recent live stream. And he made kind of a very confusing claim. So he was asked, okay, what are some things that didn't go well with the channel or went well with the channel?
1800s?
And the thing he... Well, okay. I'm gonna let him speak, right? I'm gonna let him, I'm not gonna speak for him. You can hear him say it and make up your own mind about what he actually means, right? But I was kind of baffled by the statement. Let's see.
There would be more attention. If I have been influential, for posterity, the chat seems to be saying I mean, there's definitely dissenting voices in there, but a lot of the chat are saying very extremely. Now, granted, these are all people who are here in my chat, right? So we're not taking this like it's the gospel. But one of the things that maybe went wrong is I've been inspirational or influential for other people, so there's other I do, and because there's a lot of other people doing the thing that I do, there's not. I actually get less attention as a result of that. Do you understand? If nobody had been inspired by me, but there was still, if nobody had been inspired to make videos like mine, or take anything from my videos and do their own version of it, or I'm not saying that people owe it to me or anything like that, you know. I imagine what happens is if you're inspired by me, you start out and you go, okay, I'm going to make videos like him, and then maybe you find your own thing after a while, you know. But still, maybe there's ultimately some kind of similarity to it. So there's this niche that, I mean, this is hard for me to absorb personally, but people tell me it over and over again, right? That there's this niche that I basically helped to create, and there's a lot of people doing it, and so presumably if less people were doing it, there would be more attention to go on what I do. And I'm not saying, I don't know, I feel actually like, I know that there are game developers and stuff who have said that they found the videos useful, and I'm happy that people like them. So I'm not, I'm actually not upset about how influential the ideas have been, just the fact that it negatively impacts my ability to continue doing what I want to do, right? I don't know. If you think about all of the attention and money and all that stuff that pours into all of the people that have been influenced by me, if that or even just some sizable fraction of that had been flowing my way instead, we would be in a very different place right now. So that's maybe one of the biggest things that went wrong, you know?
Okay, so clearly he's concerned about his ability to like make YouTube, right? To do YouTube, to make money doing YouTube. That's a totally fair, valid concern, right? I get that. Pointing at this as the first and primary reason, right, that oh, the niche is too crowded, is insane. I'm sorry. That does not make any sense. It does not make any sense whatsoever. Cause like, bro, the reason you depleted your finances is because you were making a Game Boy game for like the last 5 years, right? Is you were not making YouTube videos at that time. So how do you come up with the thought that like, oh yeah, what actually made me run out of money is he did make a game. It's called Logic Bombs. So I neglected to mention this, right? He after the sort of theory stuff, he put YouTube on the back burner to go full time into game development, right? And he had multiple projects that he started and then abandoned, which is fine, you know, that's like total normal process. And he kind of ran through his funds doing it. I'm being more petty than him, you think? I'm not, I don't mean to be mean, right? I just thought like pointing at this as the issue is just really baffling. Like, I don't know. I feel like because like you're basically making other individuals the problem, you know, rather than oh, there's a systemic issue, right? That like oh, creativity in this in this capitalistic world is not rewarded, right? Or the fact that like well, strategically the way I'm approaching it, where I'm not willing to make any compromises with my work, it's just not working, right? Obviously, I don't know what it looks like on the back end for him. I just feel like I don't know. Like I want y'all's input, right? I'm very curious what y'all think about this, but it just seems crazy to me to say when you're asked, okay, what are some things that went wrong? That the first thing you say is like, oh yeah, people copied me and like it's infringing on my ability to make money off of my work. That seems kind of crazy. Am I crazy? I don't know. Now I will say, I actually left a comment and he responded to me. And maybe my comment was like a little mean the way I phrase it. I say about what is discussed here, the idea inherently doesn't make a lot of sense. You want to be bigger than you are, but that will inevitably always inspire more people to attempt similar work. And as far as things holding you back in terms of reach, other people making similar styles of videos is probably far from the most significant factor. The level of success you've reached while consistently going against every rule of the algorithm is nothing to sneeze at, IMO. And while you deserve to be able to make a living off of your work, if we're thinking a little bigger than that, the thought that people should only come to you for ideas is I understand now that that's not really what he said, right? But like, that is sort of the consequence of what he's saying, right? He's like, he's disappointed that people are not coming exclusively to him for this type of video. And even that is like, it is a crazy idea because like, it's not like you're the first person to like make serious videos about games or serious analysis of games. Because guess what? The academic world like exists, right? And I feel like it's so weird to like not want to engage with that world at all or with other people at all. and then also say, hey, everybody should just come to me for ideas. What? I don't know, dude. You're not the only one who deserves to be able to put their ideas out there, and if we're interested in elevating the discourse as a whole, diversity of thought is essential. It would speak to an extreme level of hubris to think that you have no blind spots that may be covered by other critics. Now he said, I'm gonna read his comment and to be just fair, seems like you're reading more into this than I meant. I'm acknowledging reality, that's all. I never said people shouldn't do their own thing. In fact, I've had a couple of fledgling content creators reach out to me over the years and basically ask permission to make certain videos they felt might be stepping on my toes. I told them it's ridiculous to ask and they should do whatever they wanted. Anytime anyone ever told me they were inspired to follow my footsteps, I've encouraged them to do whatever they like. That's great. I just think the I'm acknowledging reality part is like, I think you're still missing the point, you know? I feel like if you really think this is the biggest problem holding you back, then I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, there's probably 100 other things you could have tried, you know, before saying, oh yeah, the niche is too crowded. I just don't know how you arrive at that as the first conclusion, you know? How do you arrive at that as the first kind of thought? That is very strange to me. When, like, literally you were working on games for 3 years, you weren't making videos for 3 years. It's like where's the evidence that the niche is too crowded? When did you get that evidence? You know, when did you get the data? You know. So yeah, I'm sorry if that was a little mean. I just feel like it puts the aesthetic, it puts like his work in general a little bit into perspective. You know, that like his unwillingness to really engage with the rest of the discourse. It makes him look just a little out of touch in some ways, yeah. So I don't know. Okay, guys, there was a lot of setup. Let's get into the video and react to it. I don't know how long I'll take to react, but we'll see. Zotan, what's up? I have played it and I liked it. I finished it. I thought it was good. But I had some issues with it, but I actually have a review of it on my channel. Wait, fuck. Okay, that's not a good way to find it. It's in backlog battle. In one of the backlog battles, I review logic bombs. I don't remember which one. But yeah. So by becoming a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber or our Ko-fi member, you can watch Logic Bomb's review. Shout out to Good Lucario. Shout out. Okay. Let's get into it.
Any creature which acts on false information is liable to make bad decisions. If a lemming stands atop a cliff and sees a predator close by, it might choose to jump, but if that predator was only imaginary, that jump would be a terrible choice. Human beings aren't attuned to every piece of information which can be gleaned from our surroundings. We aren't consciously aware of magnetic fields, we don't echolocate with the precision of a bat, and we can't perceive infrared or ultraviolet light. Even our perception of visible light is not objective truth in its purest form, since there is no such thing as colour independent of observation. Still, colours are associated with particular wavelengths of light, so it would be fair to call our senses a manifestation of the truth. In the same way a shadow puppet isn't real, but is at least correlated with something real. Any sense organ which reported completely uncorrelated data.
When I first watched this, I did already get like a little nitpicky about like the language used, because like The thing is, if you want it to be exact, if you're being this pedantic, right,
of the truth,
then maybe it would be important to say, okay, I mean, the shadow is real, you know? Like the shadow is a real object. You know, the shadow in itself is a real object, right? It's just that what it represents maybe distorted in some way, you know? It may be a distortion of, like, we perceive, the way we perceive the shadow may create certain expectations, right, for what it actually represents, that don't match up to reality, right? But that doesn't make the shadow not real. So I think that little syntax there, I think maybe is a little flawed.
Shadow puppet isn't real, but is at least correlated with something real. Any sense organ which reported completely uncorrelated data would at best be useless, and at worst, a danger. It's natural for living beings to prefer useful information, so much so that this bias may even be universal. This preference poses a problem because many games tell lies, and that doesn't just mean they have fake stories. Most of us are capable of enjoying fiction, so this isn't a criticism of unrealistic games, even if the main reason for that lack of realism is just technological limitations. Our current understanding of physics seems to imply that reality is more complex and chaotic than it intuitively appears.
I also think he's being a little too noodly here, yeah. He's being a little too like, this is a point that I've seen a bunch, right? Where, okay, you're trying to set up this idea that the way certain realities about a game are represented aesthetically doesn't paint the full picture necessarily, right? That's the overall idea of this video. Do we really need, like,
Most of us are capable of enjoying fiction, so
this kind of like sidebar, right? Where, okay, this is what fiction is, blah blah blah. It feels like he's arguing with himself a little too much and trying to preempt arguments a little too much, you know? And I do feel like it kind of has the opposite effect of what he's intending, I think. It has the effect of making the point much more muddled and much more confusing. Yeah. See, Leo, I kind of see what you're saying. The thing is, to really argue about this, we need the clearer version of the video, right? If we had, like, I think it would be a fun exercise to, like, rewrite the video in a clearer way. I feel like, see, if you're jumping to something that I didn't allude to at all in my script, is that a fault with the script, or is that, like, okay, you're projecting your bias, your pre-existing bias onto my words, right? If the idea of ludonarrative distance, for example, if it never comes up in this video, and it's not really relevant to the point at all, right? The thing is, academically, right, it is scrupulous to inform the reader about the current state of the literature, right? That's something you should do. Now, that's not what Matthew's doing in general, right? Like, because he doesn't fucking read. Sorry. But, I mean, this is sort of his version of doing that. And my impression is that the way he's doing it makes the point much more confusing than it actually makes it clear. Ella, did you understand that? I feel like it's just you bringing in all. I think there's a structure problem with the video, right? Because he's bringing in all the caveats before he even got to the point. Yeah. So I don't know.
criticism of unrealistic games, even if the main reason for that lack of realism is just technological limitations. Our current understanding of physics seems to imply that reality is more complex and chaotic than it intuitively appears, but regardless of what might be revealed about our own universe, Pac-Man's simple, deterministic world is still true to itself. Likewise, some games might present naively optimistic or blindly nihilistic worldviews, but those are valid expressions of artistic intent. The truth about reality might lie somewhere in the middle, but games don't need to depict our world at all. Even when such comparisons to reality are set aside, there is sometimes a gulf between the impression a game strives to make and its mechanical implementation of those concepts.
So to be clear, I would have started here, right? I would have started with the idea that, like, okay, when you're creating a game, you're creating a mechanical universe, right? You're creating a universe, a self-contained universe of, like, systems and rules. And then what we're seeing on screen is an aesthetic representation of those systems and rules, right? And I think maybe, I mean, the classic, that's the thing, the classic video essay method is, like, you start with an example, right? I think the example that I find easiest to understand is, like, a health bar, for example, right? Where, okay, where I would have started with Alien Soldier or something, right? Where, okay, if you haven't played it, Alien Soldier gives you options. This is actually perfect. Okay. So basically you have a couple resources that are important in this game. And Alien Soldier basically gives you the choice, okay, do you want to represent it as a bar or as a number, right? The bar is obviously coarser than the number. The number is quote unquote exact, right? Where, okay, if I, let's say, touching an enemy, I take a single point of damage. So I instantly know exactly how many times I can get hit, right? I can infer that. Whereas with the bar, I'm getting a much coarser representation of that. Now, the thing is to understand is that internally, the way this works in code, right? The number is also an aesthetic representation of the game state, right? I don't know what the code of Alien Soldier looks like, but internally there's something saying, okay, when the fucking Epsilon Eagle has this much health, has like a certain value, and it might be literally 1750, right? That might be the value that's in the code. And then when you take damage, you exactly take this amount of damage. But that might not even be how the code works, right? You might even say, okay, see, we see here ghosts and goblins, right? Now, the way here health is represented is with the armor. If you get hit, well, he's not gonna show it, but
impression.
Aliens, fuck no, ghosts and goblins, armor. Okay, I don't know if I could show you this very well, but like when you get hit in this game, you lose armor. The thing is, in terms of like a game state, in terms of Arthur's, this is the main character, Arthur, right? In terms of his state, he has, I don't know exactly what the delineation was. I think it depends a little bit on the game, but he has like 3 possible states, I'll say. He has like fully armored, underwear, and dead, right? Now in the code, this might be simply represented as a number, right? It might be, okay, it starts at 2, and then every time you get hit, it goes down by 1. But aesthetically, it's represented this way, right? And this is really what he's talking about. Like, how are things represented aesthetically on the surface? And I feel like you could have just started with a simple example like this. Like, explain the difference between the internal rules, the internal code, or whatever, and the static representation. And go from there, instead of, like, the wishy-washy, like, super confusing blah, 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 right? What's the Vinny image on the bottom left? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, this one. Alright. Fire. Okay, let's continue.
A game strives to make, and its mechanical implementation of those concepts. For example, the online portions of Death Stranding are more disjointed than they appear. There is some degree of cooperation between players, but it's exaggerated, with structure maintenance being an egregious example. Structures degrade with playtime rather than being synchronized by a shared clock, and repairs can be rolled back by reloading an earlier save. Neither of these things should happen if the chiral network operated the way players are led to believe. The game also encourages players to share their tools with others, but in reality nothing is truly shared, only copied from one world to another. Apparently most people didn't notice these nuances, which makes Death Stranding a better liar than some games, but the illusion still falls apart under scrutiny. The unique joy of multiplayer comes from knowing that another conscious being is also part of the experience, so the negative impact of deception becomes easier to understand when socialization is involved. It's wonderful that games can offer this type of shared interactivity, but it only works if it's true. As social animals, it's no surprise that interacting with other conscious beings can be enjoyable. Therefore, we're more attuned to this kind of deception. We see through it more easily. The importance of socialization was a major theme of Death Stranding, a story where characters take oxytocin pills so they don't die of loneliness. For this reason, Death Stranding's themes are still intact, but sometimes an act of deception can cause major ramifications for any interpretation of a game's meaning. Ending E of Nier Automata is one example. After struggling against nearly insurmountable attacks for a while, Nier Automata offers the assistance of other players to make it through the ending. Although it is possible to beat this credit sequence alone, players are intended to accept help, after which they get surrounded by friendly ships bearing the names of fellow players. These ships act as increased firepower, but can also be destroyed along the way. In the end, the player is offered a choice to delete their save file so that they can become one of those ships for someone else. On a surface level, this seems like a queue of strangers making a sacrifice so that the ones behind them can see the ending, but this outlook doesn't hold up to scrutiny. As an experienced player, it's obvious to me that this sequence is simply too difficult for an average player to complete without losing multiple companions. I believe this is self-evident, but I gathered evidence anyway, so after analysing 50 different playthrough videos, I found that the average player loses roughly 12 friendly ships in the process. There's a selection bias toward people who are inclined to share videos, which makes this not scientifically rigorous data, but it supports my claim somewhat because this figure would need to be off by a factor of.
So you couldn't find a single playthrough where somebody got through it with, without losing a single ship. That's kind of interesting. I don't really have an issue with this so far. I will say, like, the specificity of the examples is definitely, like, he's diving headfirst into, like, okay, a game is not honest about, like, the things it's presenting, right? When I think maybe it would have been wiser to talk about the idea of, like, an aesthetic representation of the game state more generally.
To invalidate my argument. Even if that was the case, and each player lost just one companion, the system would only break even in the exchange if we assumed that everyone opts to delete their save file afterwards. In my sample, 24% chose not to do so, and an additional 20% didn't reveal that decision. These numbers are even worse if you imagine an adversary who intentionally fails the credit sequence, trying to destroy as many save files as possible. It would only take one such person per million to deplete a slim surplus. Put simply, this isn't a mathematically sustainable system, so there can't be a one-to-one relationship between deleting your save file and your name showing up in another person's game. Most likely, your name appeared for several other people, which seems to defeat the purpose because if a player can be copied an indefinite number of times, then there was no need for any sacrifice beyond the first. Even the earliest reviewer was unlikely to be the first name in the system, since the developers wanted that person to have the intended experience, so it was likely seeded with some fake names beforehand. All of this information changes how the ending should be interpreted. When these messages appear, they don't really mean that someone just sacrificed their data to save you. You are going to be saved regardless. Inconsistency.
Now, I'm curious how y'all feel about this. Because I think for a lot of people, the idea maybe matters more than the execution, right? Sort of feels over reals. That's sort of the mantra there. I'm someone who like really appreciates the idea of what the game went for there, and like I thought it was a powerful moment when I played it. But knowing that the game kind of took me for a fool a little bit, and like inflated its own meaning, right? In this fake way, it makes me feel kind of stupid and makes me respect the game less, right? I do take that sort of shit like pretty seriously. I feel like now as humans, what I've kind of gathered anecdotally is like sometimes we're very wishy-washy with how seriously we take this sort of stuff. I want to say I'm pretty consistent about taking it seriously. And I feel like I know a lot of people who are not that consistent about it. They sort of decide like, oh yeah, this worked for me, this didn't work for me, just purely by emotion. I mean, Death Stranding came up, right? And there's like moments in the story in Death Stranding 2, for example, where it's supposed to be like insanely heavy. There's like supposed to be these really dramatic fucking twists of fate. And I was not feeling it because like the characters just moved on immediately after, right? To me that is important. Honestly, I've only played through the game once, so I couldn't tell you. I've always wanted to play through it again because like my first playthrough with it was kind of wonky. I have very complicated thoughts on Nier Automata, but yeah, I always felt like I just need to sort that out a little bit. I need to revisit it for that reason.
Often dismissed as nitpicking, which is sometimes accurate, but at other times, logic.
I mean, he says it here, right? It's dismissed as nitpicking, right? But like, I feel like if you do that, you just don't take games seriously, yeah, as an artistic medium. And I feel like he is speaking to something very real there that really frustrates me, for sure. I felt the same with finding this out. It does change how I look at it. Okay.
Consistencies are often dismissed as nitpicking, which is sometimes accurate, but at other times, logical consistency is necessary to prop up the truly important parts of an experience. No game is good simply by being logically consistent, but that consistency can be a crucial component. Depending on the genre, games can be more or less interactive, so a game can still be worthwhile even if it doesn't always utilize interactivity to the fullest extent. That said, players should not be
Sorry, I want to listen to this part again.
expected to be on the genre logically consistent, but that consistency can be a crucial component. Depending on the genre, games can be more or less interactive, so a game can still be worthwhile even if it doesn't always utilize interactivity to the fullest extent. That said, players should not be expected to ignore the interactivity which is present. Any serious interpretation of a game's themes must factor in the way its mechanics operate. What the ending of Nier Automata really demonstrates is that audio-visual effects can be used to manipulate emotions in such a way that players will happily act against their own interest. Note that I would have no objection whatsoever if this information improved your enjoyment of the ending somehow, as long as your interpretation took the mechanical implementation seriously. For the sake of clarity, there's a distinction to be made between this problem and a separate but somewhat similar problem called ludonarrative dissonance. Uncharted has often been cited as an example of ludonarrative dissonance, by which it's meant an incongruity between gameplay and story. Drake is supposed to be a likeable everyman, yet he casually murders hundreds of people in pursuit of treasure.
See, he says it's often been cited. He doesn't cite examples, and he doesn't even cite Clint Hawking, ludonarrative dissonance. I feel like that would be kind of important. I don't know. Like, I feel like clearly he does read shit sometimes that's going on, but I don't know. I think the way he like sort of he's sort of engaging like around it is very frustrating. Um, I feel like there is a little bit of a hubris there that he feels like, okay, I want to do my own shit. I want to be my own guy. I want to show that I arrived at all these conclusions organically. But then, oh my god, the rest of the world still exists, right? So you can't get around it completely. And it's like, it's very frustrating. I don't know. But yeah.
A clash might be worth avoiding, but it's not the topic of this discourse. An example of aesthetic deception in Uncharted 2 is that you can't fall off this ledge no matter how hard you try. This isn't ludonarrative dissonance because the story and mechanics are both in harmony. They both agree that Drake doesn't fall off this ledge. Nevertheless, you can see a contradiction with how the environment evokes a feeling of peril, but the mechanics prevent any bad outcome from occurring.
So I guess this is interesting because it sort of confuses what we're talking about, right? I think I saw a couple people sort of comment on this where, okay, in the game state, right? The way the rules and the systems inherently work work inside the game, that decides, okay, Drake cannot fall off the ledge, right? Now, we don't see him falling off the ledge, right? So in that sense, it is consistent, right? And like, there is sort of an interpretive layer in saying, okay, this is supposed to look perilous. This is supposed to feel perilous, but it's not perilous, right? But are we still then talking about like aesthetic representation of like the game state? I mean, Matthew at this point, he has not made it clear that that's what he's talking about. I don't know if that's the thing. I feel like in my head, that's where I'm always jumping, right? That's where I'm always going. That, okay, this is what he should be talking about, but then he talks about it in a much more like broader kind of perceptual sense. Yeah, I think in turn-based games you definitely have a clarity of the game state that sometimes you don't have with action RPGs. I would agree. Well, for me, so to explain the point a little better, the point that I actually made was that it felt unmotivated. It felt aesthetically like unmotivated. You're bringing in this like little twist, but it's not actually really achieving anything. You know, it's not really changing my outlook on this scene or on this moment in a significant way. It just feels like it's kind of thrown in there.
In order to distinguish this idea from ludonarrative dissonance, we need to use a different term, hereby dubbed aesthetic deception. It arises when a game is dishonest, or at least not forthcoming, about how its underlying mechanics actually operate. Unlike ludonarrative dissonance, aesthetic deception can be found.
See, then I would have to ask the question, is this actually what is happening in the Uncharted example? Because, like, if you try jumping off, and he doesn't jump off, so is the game actually dishonest about how the mechanics work? I don't know. I feel like that's why you're inherently gonna run into a problem by making the term judgmental, right? In that way. Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, see, the thing is, if we explicitly saw, okay, maybe if Drake was like doing this, right? Oh, I'm gonna fall over, and there's no way for him to actually fall over, then maybe we'll get closer to that, right? The thing is, I think the deception term almost inherently doesn't work, right? Because like the more you explore the game space, the more precise your understanding of the underlying rules will be, right? Eventually, you will understand. Okay, um, maybe maybe the way the game is represented here aesthetically doesn't match my initial perception, right? It doesn't match what I initially expect based on this, right? When I see this, I expect I can jump off. However, by exploring the game state, I eventually understand, okay, it's just not possible, right? Um, and I feel like calling it deceptive on that basis is just really difficult. I don't know. Yeah, Josh, I'm like wondering if maybe the word deception is just not suitable at all. Obi Twice, he's gonna go into that actually. He's gonna use invisible walls later. See, actually, Lob, I sort of agree with you, right? Illusory signaling. Oh, I kind of like that, Aladishi. I kind of like that. See, the Ludo narrative thing is very interesting because like he provided his reasoning for why he doesn't agree with that, right? However, when I think about it, I'm like, okay, the narrative aspect of this is not necessarily he falls over. The narrative aspect of it is it's perilous, right? And the mechanics don't agree with it being perilous, right? If this is the thing, if he's saying, I think the more you think about it, the more his point doesn't make sense, right? Because like if he's saying, oh, the narrative is saying Drake is not gonna fall down here, right? Then where exactly is the deception, right? Like, because we perceive the narrative through the aesthetic, right? Aesthetically, if the thing that's making it not perilous is the fact that he doesn't fall down, then where's the deception? Do y'all get what I mean? Like if the aesthetic is telling me he doesn't fall down, would that not already mean that I need to interpret it as not a perilous situation, and then in turn, it wouldn't be deceptive. I think Lob, what you're saying makes way more sense. Like narratively, this seems like it's supposed to be a perilous situation, and mechanically it isn't. I don't know. I think the problem with this is that it's highly theoretical and abstract and removed from the lived in experience of a player understanding how a game works. Aesthetic deception makes more sense in the context of inconsistent mechanical design, which is something we've known for a long time as a concept, and we criticize it frequently in games. I guess what you're saying is like sort of like inconsistent telegraphing and that sort of thing, or inconsistent signaling. I like the signaling word for sure, Aladici. The narrative is the canonical outcome. The mechanics support that outcome, so no Ludo dissonance. Okay. Well, in the Clint Hawking piece, if we refer back to that, right? What he's talking about is I haven't read this in a while. But if I remember correctly, the idea was like, okay, there's a ludic contract and there's a narrative contract, right? The narrative contract says in Bioshock that like that it basically it puts an altruistic and an objectivist ideology like in conflict with each other, right? Or puts those ideologies in conflict with each other. It says, okay, in this world, are you going to be altruistic or are you going to be self-interested? Now, that's the narrative idea. To make that sing, you would need appropriate mechanical consequences, right? You would need to make it so that, okay, taking the altruistic path should be more challenging, should be harder, right? It should require you to be selfless and to ignore your own well-being to some extent. And the reason it's so ludonarratively dissonant is because if you take the altruistic path, if you go and help everybody, guess what? You're actually more rewarded than you would be otherwise. And that's where the dissonance comes from. And I don't like. Basically, what I'm saying with that is it's not necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily like there's a mechanical outcome, right? I don't think it's necessarily about the narrative outcome. I think it's about what the narrative is conveying. Or it can be about that at least. And here, to me, the narrative is conveying, okay, this is, or through the aesthetic, it's conveying, this is a parallel situation. I don't know, we're getting really hung up on this point, but I feel like you could just interpret it like very wishy-washily in a billion different ways. Okay, let's continue for a bit.
Is that you can't fall off this ledge no matter how hard you try. This isn't ludonarrative dissonance because the story and mechanics are both in harmony. They both agree that Drake doesn't fall off this ledge. Nevertheless, you can see a contradiction with how the environment evokes a feeling of peril, but the mechanics prevent any bad outcome from occurring. In order to distinguish this idea from ludonarrative dissonance, we need to use a different term, hereby dubbed.
The environment evokes a feeling of peril. I think this would warrant like going into more. Why is it evoking the feeling of peril? And I feel like this feeling, once your understanding for the mechanical universe of the game builds, maybe this feeling just goes away, right? And then is like I don't know, it's very weird. It's very weird.
Aesthetic deception. It arises when a game is dishonest, or at least not forthcoming, about how its underlying mechanics actually operate. Unlike ludonarrative dissonance, aesthetic deception can be found even when the story isn't vital. Perhaps the most ubiquitous example is Invisible Walls, but it can take many other forms. Some platformers have a feature named Coyote Time, which is a grace period after leaving the ground when the player's jump will still work. This is aesthetic deception, because it's reasonable to infer that the character can only perform an initial jump while grounded. The reason few people care about this trick is because it acts in the player's favour, at least superficially. In the long run, this may actually harm players because if they want to master the mechanics...
Now, my first thought here was like, well, I don't think DKC is a great example for Coyote Time. Because in DKC, it's actually... And it's not an example of aesthetic deception at all. Because, like, it's very aesthetically clear about why this works, right? And again, that's why... Yeah, I don't... Lucaria, I wouldn't use the... I wouldn't say it's baked into the game design, because, like, that I think that's the case in every game, right? What I would say... I think what makes DKC different is that it is visually explained, and it is sort of canonized in a way, right? Maybe that's a way to put it. Because for those who don't know, the way it works in DKC is that when you have a roll, and when you roll off of the ledge, you store a jump, right? So that allows you to jump in the air. And the fact that it has this very clear, unbreakable rule to it that has an aesthetic element tied to it, right? The visually I'm rolling over the ledge. Like obviously it doesn't make sense, quote unquote. It doesn't make aesthetic sense. So I guess maybe you could say it's aesthetically deceptive, but like I don't really think so. Because like I think the overall difference in opinion that I'm having here with Matthew, right, is that over what aesthetic even is, right? Because I see aesthetic as like, okay, represents the underlying state, right? And sure, if I'm using my real world sort of expectation that like, okay, this fucking monkey should not be able to jump in the air, right? Then you could say it's aesthetically deceptive. However, when I know that okay, the game has a way, it uses an aesthetic elements to somehow explain why this works. In this case, the roll animation going off the ledge. For me, that is in harmony, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't even call it coyote time, man. I definitely would not. I can see the argument for being deceptive, quote unquote. I don't think it's coyote time. Blur, what's up? Well, I think that argument is actually not that bad, to be honest, because like, um, because like I think it is something slightly different to like have to internalize an arbitrary timing, right? Versus using information of the game or sensory information that the game is giving you, right? The argument he's making is like it would be better to have to rely on sensory information versus an arbitrary thing that's not communicated. And that there was a lot of good arguments for why that's still kind of wrong. I think Barhawk had a thread about this. Let's see. Yeah. I think the big problem is that he's overestimating even the high level player's ability to read small distances. For example, I pictured an overlap between a bullet and a player hitbox that will count as a hit. See, he's still on the ledge here, right? I understand Matthew's point in principle. However, I think with I think over years and years and years of playtesting, we've just kind of learned like, yeah, players are stupid and they will like they will really misjudge things very heavily. I think honestly, a visual solution of some kind is just the best compromise. Yeah, I feel like something like DKC or like, hey, the character will change the color or something. You know, will I don't know, enter a specific animation. I don't know. I do think those are all good ideas. Oh, you know what? I am surprised that iframe dodges were not like example in this video. That is kind of interesting. See, I feel like that's the thing. Had he used that as an example, it would have kind of thrown the whole point into question, right? Because then I think we would have all agreed that like, okay, is this really that? Because like once you understand it, is it really that deceptive, right? I think that would have revealed that the idea doesn't really make sense, you know? Hmm. Well, even I mean, see, I would even agree with this point that like even when the expectation is like more soft, right, in a speedrunning game, if you really want to master the game, even if the game doesn't require it in any way, you would have to learn the timing, right? Which I think there is an issue with that. There is something arbitrary about that. I do agree with that. That's funny. Yeah, I was saying this at the start. I feel like it's just something he really glosses over, you know? That the aesthetic is just a representation of the underlying rules, right? I feel like that's what he should have started with. Sid Meiring, i.e. rigging in-game RNG for the... Oh, I hate that shit. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I mean, sort of output randomness in general, I'm just very iffy on. I can see sort of... I know the arguments for it, right? I'm aware of it. Well, let's not get into it right now. I think this is too big of a fucking Pandora's box there. Let's not open that right now, but it is an interesting topic for sure. Okay. Let's keep going.
Can't trust their senses to detect the last moment before a jump becomes impossible. While the level design might never necessitate the use of coyote time, mastery over such games will require an internalized knowledge of coyote time rather than just engaging with the visuals. Not only does this add an unnecessary element of memorization, but it's also a self-defeating way of alleviating frustration, because if every platformer adopts coyote time, then players will begin to expect it. Meaning they might intentionally wait until they're off platforms to jump, and thus sometimes miss the coyote window, leaving us with the same frustration, only with less reliable visuals. Graphics can be appreciated for their beauty, and they can also convey important information about story or themes, but the whole reason games used graphics in the first place was so players could tell what was happening. When visuals are deceptive, games fail to achieve that fundamental goal. If you play...
I mean, Ozzy, what he's saying is that it's arbitrary. You know, he's saying that you're not getting sensory information from it. You're learning something that has no sensory information attached to it. I think that is always kind of problematic. Yeah. See, that's the thing, right? Right, Nate, that's really interesting because, like, I've alluded to this already, but, like, I think I agree with him philosophically. In practice, I think I see it as a necessary evil, yeah? Like, honestly, if Smash Melee had, like, 3 frames of input buffer, fire. I would fuck with that so heavy.
different platformers in a row, do you really...
And I feel like philosophically you can make this argument, but then if he's being so super dialectical, I think it would be prudent to say, okay, in this competitive game, right, doing like a frame perfect jump out of shine into a wave dash or something, it is unreasonable, you know? And like having a little bit of buffer there maybe would be good. Yeah, Aladucci, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you. I philosophically, there's a lot that I kind of agree with here, but like I think it does ignore kind of the practical reality of a lot of things, and it's not conveyed very well. That's sort of my impression of the video overall.
Remember an arbitrary amount of coyote time for each one, or would you rather just rely on the visuals to be honest? Aesthetic honesty makes games more straightforward to understand. Many modern games use cutting-edge graphics which have complicated geometry, too impractical for matching collisions. As a result, every level has a separate, blockier collision layer which objects actually interact with. This can be strange in many ways, but the most common examples are where you attempt to walk...
Yeah, Blur and Aladucci, I totally agree. Like, on both of those things, especially... Again, I think the term illusory signaling, it is much more value neutral, you know? And I think in academia, it's been proven like kind of prudence to say, okay, to use non-judgmental concepts, you know? Like personally, I mean, some of you may know, I wrote my master's thesis. I submitted earlier this year. I graduated earlier this year. Woo! Congrats for me. And originally, I wanted to write about mechanical depth, right? That was sort of the banner that I put on. Now, there was a bunch of reasons why I changed the word. I eventually changed it to the concept that I called push and pull. And I would argue, like, one of the reasons why it was a good change is, like, well, okay, if you're saying mechanical, yeah. The thing is, it was there's a whole thing to that. I'll get into it someday, right? It was sort of inspired by the Sakurai thing. You should know that the Sakurai thing was a weird English translation. That's not actually the word that he uses in the Japanese version, right? Of that video. Okay. Anyway, I ended up calling push and pull, and I think that was good because mechanical depth, it does imply that it's always a good thing, right? And I think by saying, okay, I'm looking at the push and pull of this game, it is less judgmental in that way, and the idea of it is not, okay, when a game has this quality, it's necessarily better. It's just supposed to be revealing about the nature of the game, right? And yeah, that's why yeah. So long story short, I think it's good to like use more value neutral language.
Narrow gap only to find it's not possible, or slide off a surface that looks walkable. Quake suffers from fewer incongruencies because its visible surfaces are
Sorry, I'm muted. I'm an idiot. I just accidentally leaked my email window. I don't think there was anything crazy in there. I mean, I've already mentioned my last name here, so that's fine. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's replay this part.
where you attempt to walk through a narrow gap only to find it's not possible, or slide off a surface that looks walkable. Quake suffers from fewer incongruencies because its visible surfaces are used to construct its collision data. For the sake of optimization, some of that data is modified, but it's based on the visible layer, not the other way around. Apart from some minor exceptions and glitches, the graphics present an accurate depiction of the world. This means no sliding off seemingly flat objects and no getting snagged on terrain which isn't there. If a single brick is sticking out of a wall, you can stand on it. There's a relaxing simplicity to these primitive, angular maps. It's a relief to know that what you see is what you get. These principles extend to every genre and are the reason why bad hitboxes can cause so much frustration.
Hold on. Okay, I saw a couple of the homies say, oh, skill issue, skill issue, skill issue. This is actually a very, very obvious hitbox. To be honest, when I'm looking at this looks like bullshit. This kind of looks like bullshit. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Maybe I'm bad, but yeah.
Cause so much frustration. Likewise, recovery animations exist to convey information about an enemy's state. If the enemy can cancel that recovery animation, then it never meant anything in the first place. In fact, both
I do think these are all good examples. Honestly, I don't have any issues with this.
of these examples are worse than a mere lack of information. They actively mislead players into believing things which aren't true. Just like Coyote Time, they make it more difficult to assess the state of the game because the rules don't align with the visuals. Unfortunately, limitations on computing power mean that graphics would take a huge step backwards if forced to conform perfectly to the underlying representation of each object. Many gameplay elements are fundamentally rectangles, circles, cuboids, spheres, or some other geometric shape which can't be made pleasant simply by applying a texture. You can see developers struggling with this problem by entering the training mode of certain fighting games which allow hitboxes to be drawn in plain view. Just how far can a hitbox be stretched for the sake of balance before the sprite needs to be adjusted as well? There's no correct answer except to say that players have an expectation of aesthetic honesty which should not be ignored lightly.
Okay, this is one of the more controversial examples as well that he cites. Now, I was informed...
Stretched for the sake of balance, allow hitboxes.
Now, obviously, he points to the reason already, right? Where, okay, do you really want to redraw the sprite? However, There's something he is not paying attention to, and this was pointed out to me as well by the homie Rex, actually. And Rex mentioned to me, hey, this radius, that is where proximity guard engages. So for those who don't know, in fighting games, there's this concept of proximity guard is the threshold at which holding back on the controller engages guard instead of walking back, right? So basically, when my character is near a hitbox, like in a certain distance of a hitbox, or within a certain distance of a hitbox, I should say, though, sorry. And then they press back, they will guard, right? And at this distance, that will happen with Morgan, right? Where she is right now, if she pressed back, she would proximity guard. So really, the fact that the sprite is so big, it is useful information in a way, right? It is informing you about something in the game state. And I think, again, that's why thinking about it rigidly as deceptive doesn't really work, right? I think there needs to be a more general understanding of like, okay, the state is represented in a certain way, and then certain aspects of the rules are represented in a certain way. Exactly, Aldici. It is a spectrum. It is a spectrum. I feel like you could be really pedantic and say, well, okay, like literally, this is a fucking knife and it should hurt me. But again, literally at the start, we're acknowledging that games are like abstracted and and again, that's something you could have done better, right? Games are this weird abstracted reality, and if we accept that, we can accept, okay, this is mechanical information, right? I think this video could have benefited, yeah. Hmm. Z-Bolt's jumping LK is bugged and doesn't trigger proximity guard for this far. That's so far.
Drawn in plain view. Just how far can a hitbox be stretched for the sake of balance before the sprite needs to be adjusted as well? There's no correct answer except to say that players have an expectation of aesthetic honesty which should not be ignored lightly. Depending on the game or the genre, it might be prohibitively difficult to create perfectly matching visuals, but it's not necessarily impossible. Noita is arguably one such example. In Noita, most pixels convey mechanical information of some kind. There is empty space, which is filled with a purely decorative background, and some particle effects are only cosmetic, but the majority of foreground pixels all have properties illustrated by their colour. As a result, even tiny, pixel-sized sparks can have consequences if they land on the right substance. Not everything is so dynamic and reactive, but everything matters in one way or another. Even if the interactions of Noita are somehow more fake than they seem, it still has a remarkable...
Yeah, Lob, I agree with you. That is, again, it ignores... It seems unaware of the reality of that Darkstalkers example, yeah. It feels like, okay, there's just more to it that you're not acknowledging. I mean, I was not aware of this, you know, of this specific wrinkle either. And yeah, see the Schwab example, that's very prudent.
Low level of aesthetic deception because of this granularity. For the purposes of this discourse, reactivity is not the most important trait. Many open world games use trees as inert decorative props, but that doesn't make those trees aesthetic deception. Different games need different rules, so as long as the rules are consistent within each game, nothing deceptive is happening just because a tree is less reactive than it theoretically could be. While it's true that there's functionally no difference between an inert tree and an equally sized pillar, at least they both represent something about the underlying simulation. They cause collisions. The same can't be said for the grass in...
Again, he gets there eventually. He should have set this at the start. Yeah. He should have set this way sooner. This is one of the major aspects of this, yeah.
Games. It might be fair to label such grass and other non-interactive elements as minuscule cases of aesthetic deception, because they don't depict anything of mechanical significance. But this classification is not quite as simple as it might seem. An edge case can be found in Metal Gear Solid 2, where a flag fluttering in the breeze sometimes occludes a bomb which needs to be defused. As a result, the flag has become an obstacle, blurring the line between an object of mechanical significance and mere decoration. A more subtle version of this challenge is happening.
See, this is such a strange example because, like, I think his idea of aesthetic honesty has some ties to, like, real world logic, right? There's like, okay, I'm going into this with a real world expectation, and if it doesn't match the real world expectation sort of logically, then it's deceptive. With real world logic, I would think, why the fuck can't I just shoot through the flag? Yeah. So here he is acknowledging kind of that, like, okay, the representation aesthetically, it's representing something with the mechanics, it's representing something with the internal rules, it's not necessarily using reality in a one-to-one way to make that representation, right? And I feel like that's something he's very wishy-washy on, you know? I feel like with everything he said thus far, he should kind of come down on this, you know? He should be like, well, you know? I don't know, I think that's very, I find that very confusing. I'm very confused about his stance there. He's saying that the flag isn't talking mechanically inside the simulation, yet it has aesthetic consequence. There's a mismatch to... He's saying that the flag isn't talking mechanically inside the simulation. Would you say... I mean, it has a mechanical consequence. Isn't that what you mean? The thing is, why... I mean, this doesn't... See, even that point is very strange, because, like, aesthetically... his argument is like, okay, it's a decorative object, right? And it has... The state of the flag doesn't influence any other mechanic code-wise inside the but he says that... Okay. I think what I'm saying is, like, why is the flag not being scrutinized under, like, the prior sort of ideas presented, you know? Because I think under those standards, it is kind of strange, you know, that you can't just shoot through it.
Significance, but this classification is not quite as simple as it might seem. An edge case can be found in Metal Gear Solid 2, where a flag fluttering in the breeze sometimes occludes a bomb which needs to be defused. As a result, the flag has become an obstacle, blurring the line between an object of mechanical significance and mere decoration. A more subtle version of this challenge is happening every time you approach the edge of a grassy cliff. The grass has occluded important information about where the ground ends. Before continuing, it's worth acknowledging a linguistic shortcut we usually take when talking about game mechanics. If I say, Mario walking into a Goomba causes Mario to die, what most people imagine is the Mario sprite touching the Goomba sprite, and that touch then generating a response. We assign cause and effect by naming Mario and the Goomba, but the cause is not attributable to those sprites. The sprites are not real objects, they're abstractions which represent information. This is obvious with piranha plants, which have a smaller hitbox than their sprite, allowing for safe overlap between the Mario sprite and the piranha plant.
See, he's going into the, again, this, like, the match between aesthetic and internal rules and all that shit again. Again, it's just something that should have been much more fundamental in the video and much more earlier. Busan, thank you for asking, first of all. I don't really share it publicly. If you DM me on Discord, I'll share it with you. And I think the best sort of work on depth is still Celia Wagger. I'll link you her. So she has a block, crit points. Celia Wagger. That's probably the most. A lot of the stuff she's written is like kind of old at this point, and I would expect that maybe she doesn't stand by it like 100% anymore, but it's still pretty worthwhile.
In other words, when we gesture at something on screen and say A causes B, we're taking a shortcut. What appear to be causal chains are actually abstractions correlated with deeper causes happening inside the simulation. Nevertheless, this linguistic shortcut is too useful to discard, so when I refer to things in this manner, please remember to think beyond the abstraction. For the sake of ease, this video has focused on visuals, but an umbrella term to encompass other forms of output would be signals. Sounds and haptics are other examples of signals. With the right sound, you can hear an attack coming from off screen. With the right haptics, you can tell whether or not the protagonist is driving a car. Just like visuals, sounds and haptics can also be occluded or obscured by competing signals. Visuals have the highest informational bandwidth, so they're arguably the most important, but other signals are worth consideration. Players can only perceive whatever signals are output to them, so it's not surprising that the content of these signals can dramatically affect the player's actions. But that fact alone doesn't automatically impart every signal with mechanical significance. When a player is attempting to make inferences about the game's state or its rules, they have to apply a mental filter in order to distinguish signals which hold mechanical significance from signals which don't. This process is too complicated, opaque, and intuitive to fully explain, but the notion of meaning provides a useful enough guide. Broadly speaking, when players engage in this filtering process, they're searching for meaning. Wind influences grass to sway, but the grass influences nothing. Therefore,
I will say, this whole video is why I stay away from like player perception, psychological sort of analysis and how I talk about games, because it's just way too wishy-washy. It's way too hard. I have played The Witness. I like it. I played it around launch though, so I haven't played it again since. I would like to revisit it actually. Yeah. I think it's been long enough that I forgot most of the rules and stuff, so that'd be kind of cool to revisit. But yeah, I think once we're starting to talk about like, okay, players are trying to filter out noise, blah blah. It's really hard to generalize on all of those things. Yeah, it's really hard to talk about anybody's experience other than just your own specific one. So, especially in my academic writing, I've stayed away from that.
the wind is deemed more meaningful and the grass is deemed less meaningful. This determination is made because the grass is a dead end. It has no causal influence within the simulation. Its only influence is a visual signal, which might still cause the player to act one way or another. For example, if a player chooses to chase after these butterflies in Super Mario 64, then those butterflies have had a huge influence on the game state, but they're clearly devoid of mechanical significance. Music is a pervasive example. It often represents nothing about the simulation, but it can affect a player's emotional state, which then produces different behaviour. Such dead-end signals might accurately be described as neutral, neither truthful nor deceptive, but at least two reasons have just been outlined to be wary of these supposedly neutral signals. Firstly, they can occlude meaningful information, preventing that information from being output. And secondly, as the ratio of neutral signals increases, it becomes more difficult for players to filter.
He says it prevents the information from being output. I think what he actually means is it prevents it from being received. Maybe that would be more accurate. That seems kind of a strange word to use there.
Meaningful information. Ultimately, it's a matter of opinion whether you agree that neutral signals positively increase the amount of aesthetic deception, but I believe the evidence supports this point of view more than any alternative. The earliest games were more aesthetically honest because primitive computers couldn't render anything frivolous. Likewise, during development, games usually have a higher level of aesthetic honesty at the start than at the end. Programmers begin with simple abstractions and build upwards. For these reasons, I believe it's the default state to be aesthetically honest, and deception is added later, usually to make the game look, sound, or feel more pleasant.
I feel it's kind of a big leap. I mean, I guess what he's saying is like you're adding more neutral signals over the course of development, and that obscures information. The thing is, as a game designer, you're always, and again, that's just something he doesn't really lock in on. I think that's the really frustrating part, right? As a game designer, you're always making decisions about how to represent the game state and how to represent the simulation. And it's never going to be one-to-one, you know? It's always going to be a decision. So I don't know. I feel like that's a little too presumptuous. Is a game engine true aesthetic honesty?
Signals are often added with good intentions, so they aren't malicious, but they are noise. Although it's not nearly as extreme an example as Noita, Breath of the Wild has a remarkably low amount of noise. Since grass has mechanical ramifications, when grass appears on screen, it depicts meaningful information. The same is also true of its rain. Rain is meaningful because the rain interacts with so many other systems. By contrast, falling snow is meaningless. Snow on the ground has various effects, but snow particles don't mean anything. No new snow is generated while they're present, and low temperatures can be present without snow, so snow doesn't cause low temperatures. If Hyrule was somehow a world where it only ever snowed or rained, then perhaps we could say that the presence of snow indicates an absence of rain, but in the game's current state, falling snow is aesthetic deception. Despite some prominent exceptions, and the usual concessions to computational limitations, many other aspects of this game's aesthetics convey mechanical information.
Again, I feel like the use of the word deception here is very misleading. I get, I don't know, because like it's only deceptive if you have an expectation, you know? It's only really deceptive if you have an expectation. And I feel like with games, I'm trained to like be like, well, the snowflakes don't fucking matter, you know? That's why I feel like even if you accept, I don't know, I think you would have to accept that like, okay, we always have to judge the signals or their deceptiveness sort of based on real world logic, right? Once you say that, I think even a lot of the specific examples here in the video fall apart, you know? I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a great way to resolve that. Alodici, I kind of see what you're saying. The snow is a signal that implies cold area similar to grass blowing, example. Yeah.
Snow is generated while they're present, and low temperatures can be present without snow, so snow doesn't cause low temperatures. If Hyrule was somehow a world where it only ever snowed or rained, then perhaps we could say that the presence of snow indicates an absence of rain, but in the game, so snow.
Also, this is very pedantic, but he says the presence of snow. There's snow everywhere, bro. What are you talking about? Snowflakes, falling snow, not snow in general. Just saying. Like, that's such an obvious mistake, right? That's such an obviously poor choice of words. I'm very surprised that, like, I don't know, a lot of it seems kind of sloppy, a lot of this video. Surprisingly so.
Cause low temperatures. If Hyrule was somehow a world where it only ever snowed or rained, then perhaps we could say that the presence of snow indicates an absence of rain, but in the game's current state, falling snow is aesthetic deception.
I know what he meant. I also know what he meant, but like if you're going this out of your way to be like super exact and super dialectical and blah blah, blah, then doesn't it seem kind of weird to like not be to be missing this little bit of precision, you know? I don't know.
Despite some prominent exceptions, and the usual concessions to computational limitations, many other aspects of this game's aesthetics convey mechanical information. Shadows offer shade from high temperatures, Lightning storms are functionally different from normal rain. The material of objects indicates whether they can be lifted by magnesis. Shops display the exact type and quantity of each item available, and the various surface textures also indicate differing friction levels. To put it casually, most of what is depicted is real to an admirable extent. Or to put it another way, the game isn't filled with extraneous details. Most of the visuals also convey mechanical information, however minor those mechanics might be.
The thing is, he is pointing to something about the game that is very enchanting. You know, I do love that.
Developers can choose to prioritize other aspects of their game, or even subvert the desire for aesthetic honesty in pursuit of some other goal. For example, a horror game might include sounds which intentionally seem to come from the wrong location, so that the appearance of a monster is more surprising. Some players might enjoy such deceptive sound design under the right circumstances. Some players would not trade the graphical complexity of later first-person shooters for that of Quake. Some players laugh when they hit a diabolically placed invisible block in Super Mario Maker. Even in cases which seem unlikely to amuse anyone, there can sometimes be benefits which would be difficult or perhaps impossible to achieve any other way. Falling through this floor in Mega Man 2 would be an understandable source of frustration, and yet it allows for one of the weapons to be used in a puzzle-solving capacity. Surely this is an interesting prospect for a level designer. Nevertheless, it's aesthetic deception, and no matter how clever it might be, there's a contradiction on full display which reduces the player's trust in what they're seeing. Destructible walls are perhaps the most common.
I will say, very personally speaking, like, I'm definitely not a fan of this sort of shit, yeah. I'm definitely not a fan of, like, you're subverting... Unless it's like a horror game or something, right? But that is wishy-washy. That is a wishy-washy explanation. But personally, the Mega Man example for me is very caustic. I look at this and like I get annoyed, you know? Because like, is it actually that worth? Like, what they achieved here, was it actually worthwhile? Personally, I don't think so. Yeah. To like break the rules of the aesthetic in such a significant way.
Which reduces the player's trust in what they're seeing. Destructible walls are perhaps the most common example of this dilemma. A giant crack is so obvious it essentially turns bombs into keys, but the most surefire way to avoid this is to give no hint at all, which is a problem of its own. One of these tiles is not like the others. This is a quintessential example of aesthetic deception. Same visuals, different rules. Although this concept should be clear by now, there's one more point which needs clarification. Unlike the surreal world of Pac-Man, Rain World presents a more realistic setting to engage with. The nature of life is a prominent theme here, so it benefits from depicting a world which mirrors our own in many ways. As such, each creature has a place in the ecosystem, with its own goals and preferences which it seeks to fulfill by responding to limited input data about its surroundings. The origins of consciousness are currently mysterious, and might forever elude our understanding.
Yeah, I think I'm a fan of like, you need to just think about it in a holistic way, you know? If the solution is like, oh, crack in a wall, then I'm like, okay, it's probably not a mechanic worth having, you know? If it's, oh, DK Bonanza, everything can just be broken, there you go, you know?
But intuitively, we have little reason to believe that the simple amounts of data processing behind these so-called creatures have any consciousness associated with them. Even if they do, it might be a type of consciousness which is not worthy of moral concern because it seems to have no capacity for pleasure or suffering. Since Rain World tries to present creatures which seem alive, and since we have a predisposition to spot deception about social interactions, it's tempting to think that the aesthetic deception of this game would be reduced by populating it with conscious creatures. But let's consider an extreme example instead. There is no such thing as a Goomba. Although they resemble mushrooms, they don't really exist. They're just obstacles
I haven't played the Rain World DLC yet, unfortunately. I should have on that.
Which march back and forth. Likewise, there is no such thing as Trico. Even though there's an enormous difference in complexity between a Goomba and Trico, nobody is fooled into thinking he's actually real. If Goombas or Trico could be considered aesthetic deception simply because they're not conscious, then the term would lose all meaning because almost everything depicted in games is...
The thing is, I don't know if this really warranted explaining, to be honest. I saw a lot of people took issue with this part. I'm like, whatever. It does seem kind of overzealous.
By that definition. What we really care about is deception within the confines of each game, requiring no external knowledge to understand. The assumed lack of consciousness.
See, but that is weird though, like, because I feel like so many of his examples hinge on the idea that you're using real world logic, you know? That doesn't quite make sense to me. Like, he literally used DKC as an example of, like, aesthetic deception, even though it is aesthetically explained in the in-game fucking universe, yeah? With the fact that, like, okay, when you roll off a ledge, blah, 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 right? Like, the only way it is aesthetically deceptive is if you use real or logic. I don't know. It's very odd. That's why I think he wrote himself into a trap by going with deception as the word, you know? I feel like that's the biggest issue with this video.
Within The Last Guardian, Rain World, or any other game, relies on external knowledge about our own universe. This is why my definition of aesthetic deception is not concerned by unconscious creatures. They're fake in the same way a Goomba is fake. Even if they were made real, all of the inanimate objects in their game would still be fake to us. This is not the same thing as a deceptive multiplayer interaction, or an illusory wall, or an inaccurate hitbox. At some point, we need to accept that games ultimately exist in the realm of imagination, metaphor, allegory, or whatever other term you'd like to use. They may not be real creatures in a conscious sense, but they do represent something real about the underlying game state. If you walk into a Goomba, there are consequences. That's enough for our purposes. Therefore, it's not coherent to argue in favour of populating a game with conscious entities to lower the amount of aesthetic deception, at least by my definition. Of course, aesthetics rely on an external observer to have any effect, but aesthetic deception is more about internal inconsistency. In fact, it might be fair to say that deception itself is not necessarily the issue. Rather, the issue is that each instance of aesthetic deception gives rise to a contradiction between what the player is led to believe and what is actually true. It's when these contradictions are somehow revealed that the damage is really done. For example, if repairs in Death Stranding persisted through a reload, that repair might never propagate to other players, so it would still create a misleading impression, but it would be much more difficult to perceive the fakery. There are potentially large cases of deception which are a secret known only by the developers, but these are probably outliers because developers typically seem to underestimate how easily these contradictions will come to light. If you play enough platformers, you'll discover coyote time. If you analyze tactics games, you'll discover that hit percentage.
See, now he's made it really explicit that it's a bad example. This is such a bad example, dude. Oh my god.
Percentages are sometimes faked. If you're competitive at fighting games, you'll test the dimensions of the hitboxes yourself. Critics, speedrunners, modders, cheaters, and aspiring game designers will prod games in various ways just to see what happens, and if a game is popular, even casual players will stumble into every edge case imaginable through sheer numbers. There are myriad opportunities to discover that things are not as they appear. The fundamental truth of a computer game involves bits of information, which form larger structures such as hitboxes and tile maps. But just as the wavelength of light is not directly accessible to us in some pure, perfect way, neither are those hitboxes. In the same way we correlate certain light to the colour red, we must also correlate certain signals to the underlying game state. This means that when artists craft the aesthetics of a game,
All of this should have been at the start of the video, not the end, bro.
they aren't just making art to be enjoyed for its own sake, they're also calibrating a virtual sensory organ for the player's use. The less that organ correlates with the truth, the more a player will struggle to understand what's true. While it's always worth considering artistic license, it seems as though, typically, the aesthetics of a game should conflict with its mechanical underpinning.
So the point he's making is that, basically, Rain World presents a scenario where the creatures are meant to seem real, quote unquote, right? They're meant to evoke the sense that, oh, they could be real. They have a life. They have an interiority, right? And you could argue the game is deceptive because they're not real, right? And you could lower the amount of deception by actually putting like consciousness into the game, right? This is very theoretical stuff. And he's opening up that kind of arguments to make the point that, like, okay, the concept of aesthetic deception is not necessarily about how the thing that's presented in the game is or stands in relation to the real world, right? It's not about that. It's the important thing is whether it's internally consistent, right? Is the game presenting anything that like contradicts my understanding of the internal rules? It's not about necessarily the surface level meaning of the game being like represented as honestly as possible. I hope I made that a little clearer. What's up, GK?
Little as reasonably possible.
GK, you mentioned this was your first Matthematosis video, right? Yeah, I was saying earlier, this whole part about consciousness, it seems kind of unnecessary, and it makes a lot of the ideas earlier in the video a little more muddied, in my opinion. See, now that I'm watching again, I have a lot of criticisms, and I'm agreeing with a lot of the criticisms that people put forth. I still think the idea is very worthwhile, but it's definitely not as tight as his last couple of videos.
Of course, we all want to be dazzled by the beauty of whatever we play. Audio-visual effects can contribute immensely in that sense alone, but any deviation from the true game state comes at a cost, however minor. If this penalty is ignored too many times, or in too egregious a way, players can become frustrated by the mismatch between what they're shown and what they know to be true. Aesthetic deception is not...
And again, I guess it's worth saying, I do agree with this philosophically, right? When the game is evoking the sense of peril, and I'm very clearly made to understand that actually, no, it doesn't fucking matter mechanically. Like, I'm sorry, I think games are art, and I want to take them seriously. You know, I'm sorry for taking games seriously. I feel like, again, he goes into this at the start of the video, right? Like, a lot of people will look at this and think, oh, you're nitpicking by, like, critiquing sort of the consistency or the follow-through of this kind of thing, of this kind of dynamic. And it's like, okay, I'm just taking games more seriously than you. You know, I take them seriously as artistic products, and I want to take them seriously as, like, a holistic kind of artistic world. And I think that is important, you know? And I think we should encourage developers to, like, to actually try, you know? So, yeah.
Match between what they're shown and what they know to be true. Aesthetic deception is not often purely negative, but it is always a trade-off, because there's one inherent truth behind every game, and it's something which players are always attempting to perceive. Unfortunately, aesthetic deception can be alluring. It tempts developers to rely on audio-visual arts as a way of generating enjoyment, but unless it respects those underlying mechanics, even the most beautiful and proficient artistry is apt to feel misguided in the end.
So that was the video. To be honest, this is making me think maybe I should do like a full fleshed out response. I think there was a lot of interesting kind of points here. The thing is, I don't even know if I want to like, okay, go through the video and like critique it like step by step. I'm not super interested in like doing like, oh, responding to Matthematosis, blah, blah, blah. Like this is not my style. I mean, I basically did that here, right? I think on that level, what I just did was sufficient. I think what I would like to do is just make my own version of this video, right? Like pick up this topic and like do it in a way that I think is like clearer and more coherent. Because I think that's where the video really fell down. So I guess let me know if that's something you want to see. Okay, that was the YouTube recording. Is your formalism script related? No, it's not. Dude, I've been working on it for way longer. And it's not... there's not really any overlap. Yeah, the formalism thing is definitely next. That's definitely next. I will say, it's giving me kind of the kick in the ass to like say, okay, I need to really tighten up the script. You know, I need to be really... Now that I've critiqued our boy Matthew so harshly, I need to put my money where my mouth is and like really need to lock the fuck in with the next script. Okay, y'all, it's kind of late already. I took much longer to go through this video than I expected. So for Punisher, we're still gonna play it. Here's what I'm suggesting. I'm gonna attempt a 1cc. I'm not gonna credit feed at all. As soon as I lose a credit, I will end the game and go to bed. Because I mentioned at the start of the stream, I want to build better habits. I want to go to bed early. I want to bike around the block tomorrow, you know, in the morning. Get my unemployed life back in order. So yeah, it's worth rewatching context sensitivity in the wake of this video. That one is in conversation with the aesthetic session. Hell clear. Okay. Man has an easy get out of jail free card. Yeah. Horror games being some of the biggest users of this concept get kind of glossed over. I think, again, when you're married to the idea of deception, once you start calling it deception, right? So much of the framing is around your expectation. I feel like. And once we accept that, we have to accept that, okay, with a horror game, your expectation is, I will be deceived, you know? I think that is the argument. But personally, I mean, I just don't... I think you should just move away from the judgmental part of it entirely, right? You should not... You should have not used the word deception in the first place. That's sort of my take. CGK, I will upload my reaction to the After Dark channel later in like a condensed form. So if you want to see that, I'd be very curious what you think. But I don't even think that it lacks a thesis statement. I think it's actually very clear that he is anti-deception. Yeah, he is pro-honesty, anti-deception. I think the bigger problem is that the point is just so wishy-washy. Yeah. Or, sorry, the definition is very wishy-washy and very confused. When you really... He goes to such lengths to be very specific and very exact with his wording, but then there's very obvious holes in the wording sometimes. With some of the examples especially. I think that's the way big... In my opinion, that's a way bigger issue. To me, it was just never clear where is it deceptive when the game is not matching your expectation? Is it deceptive when it's not correlating to real world logic? Is your expectation shaped by different things? What is shaping your expectation? I think those are all things he's sort of alluding to, and they're just not very clearly resolved, in my opinion. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna turn on Punisher so you can see the track mode. And then I will go pee, and then we'll do some gaming, and then, yeah. Okay, let's see. Boom. I'm playing a Mister, bro. Mister, baby. Because I'm a fucking real one. Okay. All right. I'll let y'all listen to the music for a second. I'm gonna pee, and then we'll do some quick gaming. Let me change the category. Okay, I got the wrong Punisher. That's dude, I fucking hate the Twitch game select bullshit. Oh my god. Can I? How do I change my category on Twitch? Oh, there you go. Okay, got it. Oh my god, I don't know if they have it, dude. They don't have it. That's crazy. Okay, I'll do the NES game. Fuck it. Under the retro category. Okay, you know what? That's an idea. Boom. Okay. I'm gonna pee and then I'll be right back. I'm back. Hmm. Okay, I'm not hearing any game audio. I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh, there you go. Okay, that was by design. Let me know if the audio is too loud, the game audio. Okay, let's get right into it. So for those who know, this is a 2D beat 'em up by Capcom. I wonder if earlier... Is this their first Marvel game? I don't know, actually. Oh, fuck. Sorry, not going well. Now, this is using a lot of the same kind of technology and foundation as Final Fight. But just adding a shit ton more sauce to it. Punisher is just an absolute Giga Chad with like this combat roll that has iframes. He can grab the shit out of people and cargo throw them. This was the first one. Yeah, that's kind of what I remembered. Okay. And it has this weird mechanic where like when you have an enemy with a gun, Punisher will also pull out his gun. Which, honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, you can manipulate this mechanic in, like, an interesting way, where you just saw it, actually. Where, okay, because there was one guy... Fuck. Who had a gun, I could, like, kind of use the gun on, like, other enemies. The thing is, other than that, I don't know if it's, like, the most substantial, like, gimmick. Okay, I know the basic beat 'em up theory of keep them on one side. Fuck. Oh, you bitch. Oh, God. No way. Dude, I saw people say, yeah, this is a good beginner shmup. I'm getting my ass completely beat. Fuck. No. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Okay, I need to use my bombs. I need to use my bombs. I keep saying beginner shmup. I mean beginner. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, I'm cooked. Punisher confirmed dodge roll stuff, so fuck you, true. Oh yeah, it does, it does. It's so you have on the ground you have the super joy, which costs health, and in the air you have bombs, which cost bombs. See, the fact you get, like, the bombs don't carry over into the next stage. You just start with 3 every time. That seems like a big incentive to just use the fucking bombs. Oh, fuck. This just doesn't feel very... It feels cool. I don't know if it's mechanically that substantial that I'm, like, just auto-firing at these dudes. Oh, she heals me. Fire. Nice. Now, I should note, I'm not playing this completely blind. I fucked around with this game a little bit, but I don't think I've gotten further than, like, the first stage. Or the second stage. I have not played Cosmic Invasion. Honestly, I think I played the demo and it seemed kind of blah. It seemed kind of very, very meh. Time for justice. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, fuck off. So, our good friend Blader, he actually did a 1cc commentary for this game. And I think he said, like, this is, like, the worst beat-em-up boss of all time. If I remember correctly. Okay. If I die here, I'm gonna add another credit. Well, okay. I said 1 credit. Fuck it. We're gonna do 1 more. What? Cause you're my earthquake. You're my earthquake. Run around in the Alabama, it's making my heart break. Cause you're my earthquake. Oh, you're my earthquake. I don't know for sure that I need you. Don't leave. It's my fault. Don't leave. It's my fault. Don't leave. It's my fault. I'm dashing down. I need you. It feels cool to shoot the guys. It feels cool, but... Oh, fuck. You piece of shit. You fucking bastard. I should've just bombed. When my health is that low, I should just bomb. Oh my god. What the hell? Oh my god, dude. What? This is insane. I do like that the bomb is directional. What the fuck? That's insane. What the hell? What the hell? Shit. Okay. One more credit. 3 credit run. Okay, man. What? Oh my god. I want the pizza! Oh my god. What? I just said I liked how the bombs were directional. I'd take it back. What? This game needs juggled. This game needs juggled. Uh-oh. Oh, fuck. Here we can see an example of aesthetic deception of the auditory variety since Ziad has used more. Oh my god, dude. It's true. Hot dogs. Wait, maybe it was this. It was actually this boss that Blader was talking about, I think. Not the other one. The fuck? Oh, fuck. What? Okay, I see cheese. Okay. Alright, man. Oh! Pretty boys. Fuck. Oh, no! Oh, wait, I'm still alive. Get the cheese, get the cheese. Get it, get it, get it. Oh, I got him. Guys, I'm basically cruising through it. Oh, okay, cool. This feels pretty cool on arcade stick. Death on rails. How long is this game? How many stages? Oh my god. 5 or 6? Oh my god, stop! Oh my god. Okay. They fixed the final fight. Oh fuck. Okay, maybe we can just finish the game. Okay, come on, 1 credit per stage is not too bad. Oh my god, dude. The way they're looking around. Where'd you go? If I remember correctly, this knife is actually pretty strong. You piece of shit. Oh fuck. Oh. Oh god. Oh, give me that. Yes. Oh, fuck. Oh, hell yeah. Okay, guys, this game but juggled. This game but juggled. Imagine. Imagine if I could juggle this guy. Oh, coin on a string. Oh, I can just come like that. Oh. So, Punisher, this guy for you is not... does not warrant taking out your gun? You don't think it's warranted here? Okay, man. Bushwhacker. Fuck. You piece of shit! Okay, they're really programmed to do that shit. Fuck. Fuck. I do like that they jump around a lot. Enemy expression. Guys, enemy expression. Bushwhacker is crazy. This is a cool game. I'm definitely not using my entire brain capacity to play it. It's definitely very fun on like the surface level. Kingpin's Wrath. Oh shit. Someone's here already. What is the best way to deal with these guys? Absalom, honestly, maybe. The way it is right now, I'm like, ugh, I don't know. So, Beatrice Maker's so fucking true. You're so right. They're just afraid of you saying the truth. Oh, fuck. Wait, I just OCG'd him, kinda. Drop the fucking flamethrower. Oh my god. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. What? Pretty boy. That is so beast. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. No. Honestly, okay, see now that I'm kind of into it, I do feel like it's probably not that difficult. I feel like this can be learned. I mean my next I'm still working on TGM1. So that's that's kind of cool. That's keeping me occupied for the time being. I could see this being like a cool like next 1cc, like much chiller one than TGM. Okay, guys, can I call out Blader real quick? Blader, if you hear this, this is all, I say this with love, right? I saw you on Twitter the other day where you were like saying, yeah, these guys just don't have taste in games, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, do you play any games that are not single player and about combat? Do you play literally anything that's not like a beat 'em up or an FPS single player? Or run and gun. Shots fired. Those who sit in glass houses, yeah. So fucking true, Lucario, you get it. No, the thing is, whenever I ask him if he plays fighting games, he dodges the question. I don't think he plays any multiplayer games. But he will do the thing of like, okay, I'm gonna use this for an argument to dunk on this other shitty game. Even though I don't play it. Which is like, Jack Crawford, good guy, good account, you should follow him. He made that exact argument, that like, some of y'all just use games as like talking points, and you don't even like them, clearly. You don't even play them. Oh, give me that. Oh, fuck. I do like the bombs. I really like the bombs as a system. I think he has talked with Civ, actually, you're right. Is Punisher a good shmup? Yes. It's a good beginner shmup. I filed beat 'em ups and shmups in like the same like neural corner in my brain because they're both played by exclusively annoying people. By the same type of annoying person. Uh-oh. Come here. Okay, I need to like turn around to reset the reticle, I think, is the kind of the meta. You fucking bitch. Guardroid 2. Oh, got an Uzi. Susie with the Uzi. I need the blader analysis on why Boku no Natsuyasumi 2 holds back beat 'em ups. Beat 'em up design. It holds back the single player combat dialectic. Fuck. This is my 5th one? Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. See, I understand strategically I should hold on to the gun enemies so that I can use my gun. However, I'm bad at this game, so I'm just panicking and I'm just pressing buttons. Oh, I got him. Nice. To be clear, I love Blader. I love Blader. Nothing against him. I'm just poking fun. I'm just poking fun a little bit. Just a little bit of a gaff here. Just a little bit of a goof. Your luck's finally run out. Okay, last stage, final punishment. Okay, guys. Inserting credits to keep playing is a mechanic in beat 'em ups and arcade games. Does that make them easily exploitable? Susie's got your number. Susie ain't your friend. Look good that you're under 7 inches in. Blood, fuck. Blood is on the dance floor. Blood is on the night. Susie's got your number and she serves you right. Ain't your friend. I should do the throw, the combo throw more of this one, yeah. Obviously in the correct direction next time, but... Oh, fuck. Ooh. I mean, you could say the business model encouraged you to learn the game. It was literally better for you to, like, learn how to play the game than to not learn how to play it. If you want to go down that road. Oh, fuck. See, I know Mark in his video on this game, he was saying, oh, it's kind of lacking, like, a final corridor of death. I feel like this is kind of qualifying. I know I'm bad. But, yep. What's this for? Oh. Ooh, I love that. Oh, that feels good. That feels good as fuck. You get the cheese. Whew. Okay, you don't lose that much health. This is actually pretty fucking powerful. What the hell? Oh, you piece of shit, man. Yeah, Lucario, what you were just saying about, like, the artistic purity, the thing is, a lot of the design is informed by the economic reality. Like, that is just undeniable. And, I mean, to some extent, I think it is in a kind of uncomfortable way, you know? When you hear Yagawa say that, like, yeah, I intentionally made Battle Garega opaque because I knew it would make more money this way. I mean, I saw some people say, well, he talks a lot of shit, you know, sometimes he just says stupid shit like that he doesn't actually mean, right? Okay, but like, for taking the statement at face value, that is kind of fucked up, right? That is kind of crazy. That, like, okay, if you're mashing the button too much, literally the game gets harder. For those who don't know Battle Garega, like, that's like sort of a thing. That is kind of crazy, you know? I am slightly uncomfortable with that. I feel like the arcade glazing is a little uncritical sometimes. Oh, fuck. Personally, I don't like ambiguity, right? I don't like having to wonder, okay, is this like this because they want to extract money from me, or blah, 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 right? Okay. I'm gonna waste all my bombs here, because, I'm about to die. Lucario, that's exactly it. Like, you can never escape from it. You can pretend that, like, one model has escaped from it, somehow. Like, I mean, it would be a more honest argument to say that, like, okay, the economic incentivization of today leads to really easy games, and back then it led to harder games. I think that would be at least an honest argument, yeah? Fuck. Okay, guys, welcome to my 6cc run of Punisher. Oh. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Boomerang. Oh, fuck. What? Fuck. Oh. Okay. Oh, you piece of shit! I had to. Oh, okay, I still have him. Oh. Luna, I need to leave. Breath of Love Boomerang is so true. Dude, that's such a sick weapon. Having to mash the shoot button, or yeah. Okay, is this the final boss? Your ridiculous little vendetta ends now, Punisher. You're through. Fire, dude. You just bitch slapped me. What? I can't imagine that the Kingpin is grabbable. Shit! I had 2 more bombs. What? Oh my god. He is grabbing, that's fire. Wait, you can pick them off the ground? The fuck? Oh, fire! That's so sick. Fuck. Okay, I want to grab a dude and then super joy. No. Okay, let's try to get it within this credit. I think that would be a nice little achievement. Woo! Okay. Hang on. Punisher 7cc completed. 7, that's basically a 1, if you think about it. I'm the fucking goat, okay? I'm the fucking goat of beat 'em ups. Hang on, they made Nick Fury white? This is bullshit. Good night, fat boy. This is so fire. Okay, I did beat the whole game. Base is finally defeated at the Punisher's hands. The King building, its support structure. That's wrong apostrophe. Collapse, that's... What the fuck? Oh my god, this is so badly written. The war goes on. An impossible task? Perhaps. It's so fire. Okay, let's see a bunch of fake names. Akimon. That's pretty cool, actually. Okay, this is Punisher. This is Punisher, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Honestly, this is, like, definitely a game I want to learn, for sure. This seems like a pretty good one to dive into, and honestly, I mean, the fact that I did it like in, I mean, to be fair, the fact I get like 3 to 5 bombs per credit or per life, that's pretty significant. Like, in a real playthrough, I would not be able to spam bombs as much. So I would guess it is significantly harder. I will watch the Blader commentary, to figure that out, to see how he did it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put this, like, above... I think our highest game still is Ketsui. Oh, what the hell? I wouldn't put this, like, above Star Fox or anything, but it's pretty good. I like it. This fucking zesty. Okay, wait, let's put my name in there. Ziad. Fire. You're welcome. That was like based on potential before I like deep dove the games. I mean, right now I would give Star Fox like a 5 out of 5. Katsui, I still need to go back to it. Okay, wait, let me. Wait, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, the PS4 port is fucking awesome. Okay. I'd say I put this over Spike Out. I can see how Spike Out is the deeper game, but like it just pissed me off too much. The Punisher, Capcom. Bam. Okay. Guys, this is Potential Man Monday. This is the Matthematosis React. Heck yeah. Tomorrow I will record the latest Backlog Battle. Backlog Battle. That's the name of the fucking show. And I will review 2 Zelda games plus Pragmata, so look forward to that. If you're a Twitch subscriber, Ko-fi member, YouTube member, you will be able to watch that. I'll say I like the PS5. I'm a fan of the PS5. Sue me, y'all. Sue me. Oh, oops, sorry about that. No way. That's insane. Holy that's so fire. Oh my god, that's so fire. Shout out to Paraguay. Shout out to fucking Paraguay. Oh my god. I love that. I'm always betting against Germany with these things. I get that, Lucario. I don't have like a fucking awesome PC, you know? My PC is like a hand-me-down, with like a 2060 Super, you know? It's not really. Like with AAA, and I have a PS5 Pro, actually. So for me, that's pretty significant. Like for AAA games, I'm definitely just on the PS5. For me, the PC mainly is like just emulators and shit that I can't get otherwise. Yeah. And also like fighting games. Like fighting games, I play on PS5 for sure. But then there's some stuff where on PC kind of makes sense. Yeah. That's fire. Okay, y'all. I'll leave you with some Tekken 4 music. I think it's just with crossplay, I don't really give a fuck at this point. You know, with that being a thing. And I just know with fighting games, I'm like, well, okay, they're gonna run the best in PlayStation for me, you know, and they have like good controller compatibility, and like, I will say PlayStation Plus is an argument. Yeah, see, there you go. That is an argument for PC. I will say I've had moments where like I was like tempted to play fighting games like on Xbox or something, but then I was like, well, I don't like BDS. I'm not gonna get Game Pass again, so yeah. Like Virtua Fighter, for example, I learned that it actually has a lower input lag on Xbox than on PlayStation, which is very annoying. Like I didn't cave, right? But I was like, fuck. I hope for the next one, there's some parity. Is Rebirth actually better on Xbox? I heard the 60 FPS mode kind of sucks. Plus, I do have a pro. I mean, I don't like the F7 games, but yeah. Okay, y'all. I'll be back on Wednesday most likely. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, I only watched the Digital Foundry video. I'll be back on Wednesday most likely. I don't know what our topic is gonna be yet. You may suggest topics in the Discord for sure under the Hot Tech Wednesday banner. And yeah, other than that, I'll have a backlog battle for y'all tomorrow. And I think that's it. Okay, hopefully new videos soon, new shit soon, new year, new me. I'm excited for Gamescom, excited for life, you know. You know what it is. We're moving, we're grooving. Okay. Bye bye y'all, thank you all for watching so much. Okay. I'm heading out.